Hey guys, my name is Zach, and welcome to Country Bunkers Trains. Today I figured we'd take a look at my 2367 F3 Wabash offered from Lionel. The 2367 is not the rarest F3 offered from Postwar Lionel, however it is one of the harder to find ones. The 2367 was offered in Lionel's 1955 catalog for 1 year only. It came as a powered A unit with a dummy B unit. The powered A unit featured 2 worm drive vertical motors, an operating horn, magnetraction, as well as a standard 3-position E unit. The Wabash F3 returned to Lionel for 1 more year in 1956, however it was downgraded to an 027 set. It was numbered as a 2240. It was the same engine, as far as I can tell, the only difference being it had a single worm drive vertical motor instead of the 2. I'm not really sure why, but it seems like the 2240 is a little bit more known of an engine. It was recreated for the post-war Celebration series sets. I'm unsure why they chose the 2240 over the 2367. Personally, I think it'd be a little cooler to model this one, but again, that's just me. By no means am I an expert. However, there's one thing I've learned that I'd like to share with you if you're looking to collect post-war F3s. Late in the 1954 production year, a nick was made in the F3 shell mold. This imperfection can be found on any post-war F3 made between 1955 to 1969. The nick is found here on the roof. See it right there? Here's another one. Might be a little bit easier. Right there. And another one. If you're viewing a so-called post-war F3 made after 1955 and you don't see this nick on the roof, it's an imitation. I found this engine via a local Facebook Marketplace posting. On the posting was a green tote full of track and various other accessories. This engine, along with the visible handle of a ZW towards the bottom of the tote, is what caught my eye. The seller stated in the ad that the trains had been stored in a garage. However, the reality is they were stored in a horse barn. She told me they were her father's trains and hadn't been played with since the 70s. It had been well over 40 years since anybody had touched the trains. She held on to them for all these years, thinking maybe she would set them up once more. However, that never came to be. As you can tell by these pictures, after that many years of being stored open in the bin with all the track, really took its toll. Everything was badly deteriorated, and the shell was pretty beaten. The screw hole on the shell, in fact, had broken, leaving the shell flopping around on top of the frame. I figured this would be a good engine to get my feet wet in restoring engines. I started picking up reproduction parts and pieces offline, simple green to strip the paint, as well as new paint from Henning's Trains, and various other bits and pieces, wiring, JB Weld to fix the screw hole, and whatnot. I also picked up an airbrush kit from Harbor Freight to reshoot the engine. By far the most hardest and most expensive piece of the whole restoration was recreating the heat stampings. There was no way I was refilling in those colors and making it look good. Fortunately, I found a local decal shop who was able to replicate the heat stamps. I think they did a damn good job with these decals. I did a lot of research on what to use to strip the paint, and eventually came upon the simple green solution method. This appealed to me the most as it seemed like it would do the least amount of harm to the shells. I didn't want to damage anything. I gotta say, I'm quite impressed with how good it worked. It stripped the paint right off. I let everything soak for about a day or so, at least 24 hours, and it stripped all the paint off. Once it was done soaking, I would take it and run it under the faucet with a strip brush to remove any little remnants that were left. I was quite impressed. Once all the paint was removed, I took a little JB weld and refilled in the screw hole on the shell. Once it had cured, I sanded it smooth and drilled a new hole. The shells were originally molded in blue plastic and were not painted. However, all of the exposed areas were quite dark and dingy and did not look too good. I opted to shoot a nice new fresh coat of blue as a base coat to make everything pop. I ended up finding some nice thin 1/8 inch, I believe, masking tape from the local auto parts store to use for masking. It worked out quite well as it was pretty flexible and was able to curve where needed. It took about a week and a half or so to entirely paint the models, as I would have to wrap it, shoot it, wait a few days for it to dry, and then rewrap again for the other coat. All in all, though, I was quite ecstatic with how it came out. I think it turned out very good. The trucks got disassembled, cleaned, re-lubed, and new electrical wires attached to the rollers. They ended up coming out real good themselves as well. With the paint now dry, I started adding all the new reproduction parts and pieces to the frames, as well as the shells and the motors. The motors I was able to clean up, add new brushes, new wiring, re-lube and grease, and got them working again. I was even able to clean and polish up the battery bracket inside the shell. However, I have not got the horn to work quite yet. All in all, I'm pretty tickled with how she turned out. By no means is she perfect, but she is sure a night and day difference from when I first got her. I'm sure there'll be quite a few of the die-hard collectors who would hold their nose up to this engine, and for that I'd have to say to hell with them. Don't get me wrong, I like to keep my stuff as original as possible. However, this engine, I believe, is the exception. It was pretty far gone, and I think she was deserving of this restoration. It brought a lot of pleasure bringing this one back from the grave. Not only does she look good, but she runs pretty good too. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm sorry it was more of a slideshow than a video, however all of this was done in the past. If you guys have any questions on anything, please feel free to leave me a comment and I'll try and answer them to the best that I can. As always, guys, take care, and I will see you next time. I'm Zach, and this is Country Bunkers Trains. Have a good one.